And welcome to Habs Unfiltered, episode 226. I'm your host, Blaine Pudvey, and I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Smith.
Good evening.
Treg Wilson is unavailable to us tonight. Something came up, so he just could not join us for this episode. And it is a doozy. All kinds of things happening in the Habs empire.
Finally, some positive things to talk about.
Yes. Actually, the last couple days, as we record, it's Wednesday night, January 19th. The last couple days have been very positive for the Montreal Canadiens. So we'll cover a little bit about the last two games as they're in the middle of a road trip this week. And then we'll dive into some news about Drouin and his fine, and then go on to, may as well mention it in passing, Kent Hughes being introduced as the new general manager for the Montreal Canadiens.
Let's do it.
No big deal. So before we begin, I want to make a nod to our sponsor, Boxing Rock Brewing Company, located in Shelburne, Nova Scotia. We're being sponsored by Puck Off Lagerdale. So Puck Off Lagerdale, if you got up at the break of dawn and spent all day drinking rink coffee while cheering your team under your hockey blanket, you and your dedicated ways deserve a super refreshing, perfectly normal beer to share with your friends. Puck Off Lagerdale is brewed with hockey and all of its characters in mind. Cheers to a great puck off, and cheers to you, hockey parents, inspiring coaches, valiant referees, and of course, the ever loyal fans. You'll note in that salute that there was not one mention of the war room in Toronto. So even the brewing companies know, screw them.
That's right.
And a couple of calls actually went Montreal's way.
Going back on that, would you really want a beer that was for them that would just kind of just be flat? And
well, I mean, it would be so inconsistent because one beer, it would be full and it would be tasty, and the next beer you'd probably crack open the can and nothing would come out, or just be an empty can.
I can see that.
Yeah. All right, so we'll begin with a little bit of a review of the last couple of games. So the Canadiens played the Toilet Bowl against the Arizona Coyotes and came up short there, and then followed that up with the second game in 24 hours, playing the Dallas Stars, where they came out ahead. So the Arizona game, they were completely flat. They played like garbage. They were uninspired. They didn't seem to have any jump to their game, and they were completely outworked. I mean, that's pretty much why they lost. And the fact that the game was still fairly close is a testament to how bad the other team was.
Pretty much. But when you look at the Arizona Coyotes, who currently sit 8th in the Central, Montreal is obviously 8th in the Atlantic, and these aren't two powerhouse rosters that are, turning heads for the right reasons this season. And for you to get outworked by the Arizona Coyotes is really something. So I'm just going to kind of leave it at that, and for them to put on the performance that they did, which could have been inspired by the new GM and people wanting to impress their new GM. They actually put out a pretty good performance last night against the Dallas Stars, who are very good they're a very, very good team at home.
Yeah, they only lost. That was their fourth game at home, I think. The good news with the Arizona game, if you're going to look for any good news at all, is that nobody really saw it because the building was completely empty.
Which is a whole other thing. And
yeah, oh yeah.
Them being the NHL, continuing just to hold that organization above water is just mind-boggling. And I brought this up in the past. I brought it up on my social media, and it's funny because you say that about other franchises, and I've done it in the past, because Florida's the same way. And the only thing is, Florida's got a really good team, and they've got really good management, et cetera, et cetera. And I won't go on and on and on about them. But I've posted before that the Florida Panthers will look good in Quebec City. And I've had Florida Panther fans come after me and say, oh, we don't want to move the team and everything. There's 6 or 7 people that support them, went after me. Not the same way with Arizona, though.
Yeah, nobody really came after you on that one.
No.
But we'll move on to the Dallas game because there's actually things to talk about in that game. The Canadiens came out and they actually looked pretty good. They played a solid road game. They got outshot,
which they tend to do
single period
quite a bit.
Yeah. The good news though is that the majority of the shots came from the outside, but there's still far too many high danger chances.
Absolutely.
And Dallas did control the majority of that game because I think they took over 105 shot attempts. So that's not bless you. That's not good. 105 shot attempts is just not good. No. For the Canadiens. Montembeault stole that show.
He did. It was probably his best game. Easily his best game with the Canadiens. And I know I've been a little bit harsh on him and say, I've said things like, when are we going to, when's the Montembeault show over? And last night he made me kind of eat my words, and he had a really good game. And without him and the performance that he put through and several lucky posts, I'll put that in there.
Oh yeah.
Montreal probably would have won that game.
Well, and I'm not going to be expecting him to be able to play like that every time.
No,
that'd be,
especially on a back-to-back.
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, he only played the one period. For some reason, Ducharme decided after the second period in Arizona that he was going to pull Primo, and that had nothing to do with his play. I think that was more to protect his confidence, really, because
I think so.
He was kind of left out to dry.
He was.
So Montembeault came in. He played an excellent game. I mean, yes, he was still giving a big, fat, juicy rebounds, but he was athletic. He battled in that crease. He was diving back and forth. He was making the saves he needed to make. And the Canadiens stepped up and provided some goal support. To Foley's first game back, I mean, he had a goal and an assist.
Yep.
Anderson's second game back, he scored.
I think it was one of Dvorak's best game with the team.
Yeah, he got 2 goals.
Yep. And then Pizzetta knocks one in off his face.
That's a hard-working goal right there.
It is, and he's been asked with all these players returning to health, if there's a spot for him in the lineup, and he's showing that he can play. He's showing that he can do the little things in the little ice time that he gets under Ducharme, that he can put the puck in the net every now and then, or he can make a play, or he can make a hit, or he can play with energy. And he shows that he should be, as of right now, at least be on the 4th line, if not a 13th forward at the NHL level.
Yeah, he's playing a game where you can rely on him defensively. He does well in working the cycle, keeping the puck up ice. He'll finish his checks. He's going to give you an honest shift every time he's on the ice. And every now and then, he does go to the net quite often. So every now and then something's going to go off his face.
Absolutely. Obviously, when you start looking at some of the players that are going to be coming back, you look at Gallagher, etc.
Yeah.
Obviously, Pizzetta's not going to outplay Gallagher. But when guys like Paquette are available, then Paquette can go down on waivers like Belzile did, in my opinion.
Yeah, and he'll clear just like Belzile did.
Exactly.
I would not be adverse to watching Pizzetta play on a 4th line on a regular basis. And I think they sat him in the Arizona game, not because of his play or that someone else deserved that ice time. I think it was more to see if Laurent Dauphin could provide a consistent game and see what else he can give, because he hasn't been dressed often enough for the coach to say, yeah, I know what to expect from this guy now.
Yep.
Whereas Pizzetta, you know what you're going to get.
That's right.
But in a game against a team like Dallas, in Dallas, you need players like Pizzetta. So moving on from going back to the Anderson goal. I mean, we were talking about it earlier in the show, and we've mentioned it in past shows. The calls have not been going Montreal's way. I mean, even Gallagher has made tweets about, what the hell's going on with these calls.
Which I'm surprised he didn't receive anything for it.
Well, we don't know if he did or not. They might have just fined him and just kept it kind of quiet. He's been pretty silent on social media since.
Could be. It's hard to say. It's hard to say.
Yeah, it is. Although I'm pretty sure that's a fine that the whole team would pass the hat around.
Oh, so would the fan base, because it's true. Because this is the truth.
And it's not just the Canadiens fan base. You can look at any single team's fan base, and they can point to a goal that was disallowed to them this year, that was allowed to another team against them in the same year. Yeah. Like, it's just so inconsistent with that situation room. Yeah. You don't know from one day to the next what the hell call they're going to make.
That's right.
So I think
we look at the one in Arizona.
Yeah.
And the one that's in question, it looked like the player backed up into the goalie and made contact with his ass, and it looked like it was on the cusp, but I think it was more interference than, say, what Gallagher's was. And the goal stood.
Yeah, that goal there was more like the goal that was disallowed earlier in the season against Carolina, where he had his butt was just kind of sitting in the crease, and Anderson tried to move up to stop it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see that. I mean, if you're going to disallow one, disallow the other, or just allow both. I mean,
find some consistency.
Exactly.
That's all we ask for as fans.
And the Anderson goal is kind of like the Chicago goal. They finally had something consistent there. Chicago's goal in overtime, they ruled it a goal because they said that it was the defender that pushed the forward in, knocking the net off, so it counted. In this case, it was kind of, Anderson was crashing to the net, but a little bit of a shove. He runs into the goalie, the net comes off. They still counted it a goal. So a call finally went Montreal's way.
Yeah.
And they were consistent because it was kind of the same, and they made the same call.
That's right. And then you had the one where Montembeault laid down on the puck.
Well, you couldn't see the puck all the way across.
Right. And I would have thrown something if that would have been a goal.
Oh yeah.
Because there was nothing no angle that they showed. Could you see the puck that was actually across the line? Was it? Probably.
If it did cross the line, we have to give Suzuki props for what he did.
100%. Right. It
having his stick on the puck underneath Montembeault.
Yeah.
If it did cross the line, Suzuki was the one that took that goal back.
Oh, 100%. It probably went across the line, but they made the right call two times in that game. And well, honestly, it's probably the only two calls the Canadiens are going to get, because they got two in one game. So let's just take it. Let's just take it. Take the positive as we can for now.
Yeah. Oh, and it was clearly getting to the Dallas Stars. I mean, the Stars are a really good team, and especially at home. And the Canadiens were frustrating them at every single turn. They were hounding them. I know Dallas outshot them, I think it was about double the shots. But the Canadiens were hanging in there. They scored some timely goals. I mean, those two goals in 22 seconds really changed the look of the game. Two quick goals like that, and the Canadiens were ahead on the road. They can kind of play rope-a-dope the rest of the way, and they did. And then they provided some more run support for Montembeault. It was a rare sight.
If we just want to go back to shots for a second, the Canadiens had 22 shots last night. Pavelski, Hintz, and Seguin combined had 27. They all had 9 apiece.
Yeah, and that shows that's why that they were just so frustrated. I mean, you saw near the end of the game, There's a face-off right near the end of the game between Drouin and Seguin. And Seguin, dirty little shot to the face with a cross check on Drouin. Drouin did not appreciate that. Normally he backs down and he kind of skates away from that kind of stuff. But in this case, he fought back, and he fought back hard.
He did.
Couple of strong cross checks right back into Seguin's face, and then a little bit of a how do you do.
Yeah, I don't think Seguin saw that coming from Drouin, because he's not really that player. So when he knocked his helmet off, you could see it in Seguin's face was like, whoa, dude, like calm the fuck down. And the right call was made on the ice.
Yes. They called it a major right away.
Yeah, I'm not gonna defend Drouin on that one. No. It was the right call. And I said it's something rare that you see from this player. And we saw Anderson and Ben was trying to get his team fired up as well. And he had that one play before that he gave Montembeault an extra whack, and everybody kind of came in on him. So he was looking to spark his team. Yeah. But the linesman jumped in really quick, and I know Hockey Fights is all over that, and gave shit to that linesman for breaking up that fight. But you know what? It honestly is for the best, because Anderson just got back from an injury anyway, and Ben's not a guy that's an easy fight. Let's just say that. So
no, and he's the captain. He's trying to spark his team, but how much of a spark are you going to give your team when you're down by 3 goals and you're kicked out for the rest of the game?
That's right.
Not much of a spark there.
Yeah.
So he kind of overdid it.
He did.
And so did Seguin, who got a penalty but at least he wasn't kicked out of the game. And Drouin absolutely 100% deserved that 5 minutes in a game, and he deserved that $5,000 fine. Not arguing that at all. But I'm going to give him props for actually standing up for himself.
Yeah, 100%. Like the players have to do this a little bit more often. We saw it last night with Suzuki. He laid a clean hit on Ryan Suter.
Yeah.
Ryan Suter is not a slouch. He's not a tough guy by any means, but he's not a small man. He's a veteran player, a very defensively smart player, and he did not see that hit coming. It was clean, but I think he realized how clean of a hit it was. But he still went after Suzuki. And because Suzuki was kind of sticking up for himself, I think that's why other players on the ice didn't really skate over and jump in and maybe try to take on Suter for him, because they were like, this guy's handling himself okay right now. And the ref took both of them.
I really liked Suzuki's game against Dallas. He had a poor game against Arizona, and Ducharme took him aside in between games and said, hey, went over a few things. We need more from you. And he took that challenge and he ran with it. Yeah. Like, he played an excellent game against Dallas.
It was a good game.
Not just the points, the interaction between him and Suter all night long.
Yeah.
The constant battle that they had, and Suzuki was winning most of them.
Yeah. And he was engaged physically. He blocked some shots. Obviously his face-off numbers still aren't as high as what we'd like to see them as, but that's something that'll come in time. But for me, it was the assist off the Toffoli goal. I thought that was a beautiful pass.
Oh yeah, saucer pass across right over the defender, one timer in. Oh, thing of beauty. That's the kind of game we can that makes you look at Suzuki and say that's a number 1 centerman. Yeah. When he's showing that he can do it. Now he needs to do that on a consistent basis. This year may not be the best time for that.
No.
Just because it's a poor year. But now that the NHL lineup is starting to come back into place, with everyone coming back off COVID protocol, injuries are coming back, we might start to see a more consistent, productive Nick Suzuki, who, by the way, is going to be an all-star this year.
Absolutely. Before we move on, there was a few players that I think stood out for the wrong reasons. One of them was Jeff Petery. I thought he took 2 penalties last night that I thought were avoidable. Especially
a lot of stick infractions with him.
Right. Especially the puck over the last one. towards the end of the game, which led to the third goal for Dallas. He knows he needs to be better. Team knows he needs to be better. We know he needs to be better. He's shown some flash lately here and there, but that consistency needs to get back. He talked earlier in the season about doing too much, and I think he's starting to go back to that, trying to do too much. He needs to go back and find his game and get back to the Petery that earned that big contract extension that was handed out from the former GM. And then it's something that we can look at this guy and say, you are the number one defenseman on this team.
Yeah, I don't know if he was having problems when he was the number one in Edmonton, and now that he's the number one in Montreal, he's having problems with that as well. As good as he is, I don't know if he's good at shouldering that kind of pressure.
No. And I think he's really missed Evanston, and
yeah,
it's going to take some time to even build that partnership back up, because it's been so long since they played together.
Yeah, almost a year.
Yeah.
All right.
One more thing
okay.
before we move on. I'm liking the game so far of Rhett Pitlick from what we've seen. So from a guy that's been a waiver pickup, he's picked up a goal and an assist in his last 2 games with the team. The only thing I didn't really like last night is the fact that this guy's not a center, never played center ever. And
well, he's listed as a center. He's played some, but he's not a center.
No, he's not. And I hope that they learned from that last night. I still think he had an okay game, but he's not a guy that I want to see down the middle of the ice. So I would rather, if you're going to play somebody at center that has played center, put Drouin at center, if that's what you need to do.
Yeah. And Rem Pitlick, I think he's a decent waiver pickup. I think he's worth keeping for a bottom 6 winger.
Well, you know what? He's an RFA. He said some really good things about the team, and I agree. I think he could be a guy that could come in, could contribute, play up and down the lineup, kind of like a new age Jordan Wheel.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. I mean, whoa. There's only one Jordan Wheel.
That's right.
But no, I mean, he's got good speed. He's got he's very good on the forecheck. He can do the cycle game. He's got a decent shot. He can put up a few points here and there. Not much of a problem throwing a guy like that in your bottom 6.
No.
You got Pizzetta, you got him. The bottom 6 is not a problem for the Canadians. So I think they'll be okay there. It's just the new GM is going to have a lot of work to add some skill to that top 6.
Absolutely. Especially if he wants to develop it into the team that he spoke about in his press conference.
So we'll get into that now. Kent Hughes was announced today. It was introduced today to the media. He had his first press conference, covered a ton of ground.
It was a hell of a lot of questions. Oh my God, there was a lot of questions. Every time that they were like, okay, we've got Marc-Antoine Gaudin, we got John Liu, we got Eric Engels. And then I'm like, okay. And then there's another 3, then another 3, then another. I'm like, they've got a lot of airtime. I know, like, I applaud the Canadians in the way that they did it, because I found that it was very professional. I thought that the backdrop, having the Jumbotron down behind them and everything, and to do it on the ice, I thought it looked fantastic. And I think aesthetically that it was very much a, welcome to Montreal, Ken Hughes type press conference. This
is Chantal Maccabé's her area. I don't think she might not have come up with the idea, but the simple fact that it was at center ice with the backdrop of the Bell Center and the scoreboard, and it also had that open feel, like they're in the wide open, as in we're being open. It's kind of a subconscious nod to more transparency, and the simple fact that in Quebec, they're still having some major COVID regulation issues. So putting it in the stadium itself gave them the extra space to allow all the press in.
Yeah.
So it 2 birds, 1 stone, but I really like the fact that it gave that, it kind of underscored the new transparency era.
Yeah.
I don't expect a ton of transparency. I mean, it's still the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah.
Even with Chantal Macabé running the communications,
Yeah.
they're still not going to be too forthcoming with a lot.
That's very true.
But, and then they started in on Hughes right away, and they did not give him an opening at all. They started in on him in French
they
immediately.
Yeah, he didn't even get to do his opening remarks, which actually they
No.
apologized at the end. Is he never even got to do an opening statement in English because it was so many and it was boom, 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 boom right off the bat. And you know, good on him. He took it, and I thought he spoke very, very good French. And
his French is really good.
It's really good, and I'm sure there was some of the hardcore French fans and media that were like, "Sacre bleu," you know, like, what can we be pissed about now?
Well, if you I was watching it on the Montreal Canadiens Twitter feed.
Yeah,
you know, the live feed for you know,
that's what I.
And there were all kinds of comments. Oh, he's bald, or oh my God, how does he not know that word in French? You know,
Doesn't he know he looks like Jeff Bezos? You know, like those kind of things. Right? Yeah,
they were nitpicking. They were nitpicking hard. I mean, I'm going to get in the language thing right off the top, and then we'll move on from it and not speak of it again. But the whole time they were saying we need a GM who speaks French so he can talk to the fans. They hire a GM who speaks French. No. We didn't mean just speak French. We mean French.
Yeah.
They were upset.
When it got to the point, and this is not during the press conference, obviously, but there's people on social media that aren't only asking about Ken Hughes if he speaks French. They're saying, well, you've got 3 kids. Do they speak French? It's like, what does it fucking matter?
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
His kids aren't going to be the AGMs or anything, not that we know of, but it's not right. It's not going to happen. So people need to just grow the fuck up. See that this guy was picked for a reason. There was a process, which we'll get into as well, and just let the guy have his moment. Let him have this opportunity. He left a very, very good position and a very good job to do this. Let's see what he can do, and let's just leave the fucking language out of this and move on.
Sure. But, and here's the point I was getting to. So the constant, he needs to speak French. The guy needs to speak French. The GM has to be able to converse. Well, you just hired a bilingual Quebecer from Montreal, but he has an Anglophone name. So that really pissed them off, which proves it's not about the language. It's almost xenophobic in the fact that they need someone, un gars de chez nous, someone from us, and they want a pure land or a pure blood, old stock Quebecer. When it was Claude Julien hired as the head coach, there was not one friggin' word about the fact that he is a francophone from Ontario.
That's right.
Because his last name is French.
Yeah.
So no problems there, but they're going to get all up in arms over the Quebecer who's bilingual. Come on now.
Yeah.
So.
But you know what? He did handle himself very well.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And the one thing
controlled that press conference.
He did. And the one thing I want to get into is right off the bat, they were talking about, and Jeff Gordon said it really well. Ken Hughes is not my best friend.
Yeah.
And because the media has really made this seem like, yes, there was 11 people that were interviewed for this position, but it seemed that from day one, this was their guy. And
he was definitely a front runner.
He was definitely a front runner. However, they even stamped that out during the press conference and said they went to Hughes, and Hughes said, I'll think about it. Carry on with your search. And they obviously went and looked at 10 other people, including the finalists that ended up being Darche, Hughes, and Briere.
Yeah.
And then passed on and said there was some very good candidates. They all came from different backgrounds. They all brought something different to the team. And there was a secondary question that was talking about AGMs or other positions within the organization that could be filled. And Jeff Gordon said that he would like to talk to a few more of these these candidates again. So we've talked about this before, that they might bring in some of these people for into player development or different AGM roles, which would be welcomed.
I still think Daniel Sauvageau is going to be one of those people.
It could very well happen, yeah, or Castonguay, or one of them. I think I do believe we'll see a woman hired.
I do.
The one thing though that I just need to get off my chest is Hughes was a little bit snappy in one of those questions.
Oh yeah.
And it was to do with him deserving the position. And he said, like, if I wasn't the guy that they wanted, or if I wasn't the guy that was the most experienced or the most deserving of this position, I wouldn't be in this position. And I was sitting here and I was just waiting for a soundbite to happen, either from someone in the media, or if Gorton or Molson had a little bit more of a sense of humor, if one of them would have turned to Ken Hughes and been like, "Why are you so pissy?" I would have died. Right? I would have died if somebody would have said that, because it probably would have just erupted and everyone would have laughed.
True. But I noticed
instead,
that
you heard it here.
Yeah. But I noticed that the questions, they were coming fast and furious from the Francophone media about that, because they, each one had their own favorite, Patrick Roy, or Mathieu Darche, or whatever. So as soon as he said that, in French as well, the tone of the entire press conference changed. They stopped harping on that, and then they moved on to the important part.
Yes.
They moved on to the part about what is your vision for this team.
Yep.
Like, it's clear that Gorton and Hughes complement each other in a way that Gorton had with Davidson with the Rangers. Hughes is a little bit more experienced in hockey. He played it at a high level. He's been an agent for a very long time. He has experience with development. He has experience with negotiations. So these are areas that Gorton has some weaknesses in. So the two together work well, just like with Davidson. So
yes,
that's why he didn't hire his best friend. He even said, I wouldn't hire my best friend to do this job. I wouldn't do that to you guys, because, two Boston boys,
that's right,
would do well in Montreal. Let me tell you. But they moved on to the important stuff and the vision. So he mentioned the two of them, Gorton and Hughes, mentioned analytics and development shitload.
They did. And John Liu actually asked the question of what style of play envisions for the team on on the offensive side, defensive side, goaltending, etc. And he said, "I'm in a perfect world, we'd have an offensive minded club, one that plays fast with a puck, a possession team." And he then added that he knows that he has to build around his existing players. But there was a little bit of a pause there, so it kind of seems that I've got a vision for this team. These are the players that I have. There might be moves that need to be made to get the team to where I envision it.
Yeah, and to tie into that point, and we'll keep going there, but I want to just mention that in the Twitch stream that happened immediately after the press conference, he was asked about the youth on the team, and the way he was talking about Suzuki, Romanov, and Caulfield made it very clear that those three are part of his core. So clearly those guys are staying, and they play the kind of game that he was mentioning. Like they like to play the possession game. They play with speed. They have skill. They are offensive minded. But Hughes said, as an agent, I know that building a winner means not just a bunch of guys who can score. You need other types. You need guys who can play defense. So he understands that point. So Suzuki is one of those guys that can play a little defensively. Romanov's there, clearly. He's a defenseman. So I'm wondering about who else kind of fits that possession skill game. I think Anderson would fit that.
I think so.
So I wouldn't be too scared about him being traded away if you're a big Anderson
I
fan.
can't see him moving. I can't see Edmondson moving. I can't see Savard moving.
No, Savard won't move just because he just got signed and
That's
no one's
right.
going to take on that contract yet.
That's right. I could see a guy like Hoffman possibly going out, but then you're losing a pretty big weapon on your power play.
True, but the way that he
I keep
mentions
to
analytics so often,
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I would keep Toffoli over Hoffman.
Yeah,
Personally.
because he's clearly going to be, like he said, he's using what he has right now, and he's
Yeah.
trying to build towards something.
Yeah.
And at the end goal, players like Anderson and I mean, Toffoli would be able to fit in that kind of a game. And Toffoli already said that he wants to stay in Montreal and be part of the solution. So that's a good sign.
Yeah.
But Hoffman, yeah, I can see him being somebody that the analytics side of the house would say, maybe trade him when you have a chance.
That's right. Because I'm looking at the roster right now, and I know that the trade deadline is going to be another thing that Hughes is going to have to take and run with.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering if, say, Allen's back from injury, and then you say you have Allen and Primo as a tandem. Do you look to move Montembeault to another team for a draft pick? Because I don't think he's going to be in their plans for next season, especially if Price is back.
Montembeault?
Yeah. I don't think he's going to be in their plans going into next season.
Probably not. There's some talk about Price in this press conference as well. Clearly they jumped all over that part. Do you want to talk about Price right now?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, when they asked about him, they asked Molson if he wanted Price to finish his career as a Montreal Canadian. And I want to make it clear that Molson did not answer that question. He responded with, "We want him to come back healthy and play again." That's it. We just want him to come back. We want him 100% healthy. We want him back playing the way we know he can. He didn't say a peep about whether or not he wanted to stay a Montreal Canadian his entire career. So is that because there's an opening that he might move, or is that just shrewd to not answer, to leave the door open in case they have to?
Personally, I think it's just don't put any more undue pressure on Price and his family.
Exactly.
I just think that he's restarting this process for his knee, and there was some delays because of COVID and travel and whatever else. And do I think he's going to be back? I do think he's going to be back, but it's not going to be until he's 100%. And I'm happy that the organization isn't. They're looking at the state of the organization right now, where the team is in the standings. Do you need to bring back your superstar goaltender at this point in the season?
You don't have to rush him.
Exactly.
You just don't have to rush him. Let him take his time. I
want to see him play this year. Yes. If he misses this year entirely and comes back healthy with this, say, rejuvenated team or this rejiggered team, whatever you want to call it, I would be okay with that too.
Yep. No, I think that's fine and fair.
Because then you've got your GM has then went through a trade deadline. He's went through free agency. He's went through a draft. That's going to be very important. It's going to be in Montreal this year. Then you possibly are going to look at a new coaching staff. He did answer that question, and it was a question that came from French media as well. And
I wanted to get into that as well.
Yeah, and you jump right into that right now. He was asked about, new GM comes in. Usually a GM picks his coach. Is that the case with you? And he said no. And then he got into talking about what he sees in a coach. And he said that the idea and the qualities that he's looking for are tactics of a modern coach. And he said that he'll make an assessment of Dom Ducharme once he gets to know him better, and once he's able to evaluate their system and see what comes of it.
Yeah, he mentioned with the coaching that you need a coach that fits the team you have. So he mentioned the Islanders and Barry
Yes.
Trotz. He said that's
Yeah.
a very good fit because Trotz coaches a certain style, and they have a team that plays that has the players who can play that
they have the
style.
skill set for that style. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So is Dom Ducharme a guy who can coach a possession offensive minded team? He did it in junior, but that's a different animal. So
Yeah, those tactics have to change at some
Yeah.
point. And we've talked
Yeah.
about this many times this season. It just seems that the tactics that he has his players going through, they're not working for this group. And they have used, and you can make the argument that they've used every goddamn player that they have in their organization this season.
yeah, they did. Yeah.
But and, you know, to try to find a little bit of chemistry is probably a difficult thing to do at this point, but it's been an issue since the start of the season.
I don't see Hughes being in a rush to
No.
To fire him and bring someone else in.
No.
He's going to take his time.
will.
There's this season's cooked.
It is.
So why not let Ducharme finish out the year, kind of audition whatever system he wants to audition, make tweaks based on what Hughes is mentioning, what the direction he wants to go, see if there's a fit. And then at the end of the season, make your decision. If you don't feel like he's a fit, thank you very much. Bye-bye to. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think Ducharme, they're going to move on from him after this year, but they're going to give him an opportunity to prove that he can fit into whatever new system they want.
Yeah.
And Hughes was talking about how he's going to go about building a team and what the priorities are. And again, analytics, development, like he harped on that a lot.
Yeah, I liked his comment on development when he said the comment of you draft a player's not working out. He wants to know why it's not working out.
Yeah, what do they need to do to change to fit for the player?
Or why didn't it work out?
Yeah.
And he wants the answers of why, of when and why, right? So, and he was asked about the scouting department and if he would bring in anybody or anything like that. And he brought up Martin Lapointe, and Gorton talked about Lapointe as well and said that he is comfortable with him being the evaluator of these upcoming players.
Yeah.
But said that the scouting department needs to be built up, which obviously it would. If you lose Trevor Timmins from your scouting department, obviously that's a pretty big hole to fill.
Yeah.
So don't be surprised if you see another few bodies added.
Gorton said there's not going to be much done through the season because he said that not too many teams are too keen on you poaching their scouting staff during the season.
Yeah.
So I would fully expect that sometime in August, we're going to see a massive influx of scouts, in Europe, in Western Canada, more scouts in Quebec through the QMJHL, Northeastern United States. I think right now they only have one, so they'll probably add a couple more. So yeah, I can totally see that. And Hughes was mentioning a bit about how he's going to go about building the team. And he spoke more about how he wants to establish an identity for this team. So he talked about he wants an offensive minded team, a possession team. Well, he said the character is also a skill set. So sorry, Bergevin haters who made fun of the character comments. It's a common theme. You really do need to have that work ethic to take the advantage of that skill set. So it's not going to be the main feature like it was with Bergevin, but it's in there. And he wants that identity for the club built up. He wants them to work towards that one goal. So they want players that'll work together. They want that family atmosphere. So and when he was talking about it, it makes perfect sense. We do that in our day jobs. We try to create an us versus the world mentality, a family atmosphere where you're a professional, but you're also, it's kind of a brotherhood, a siblinghood, if you will. So it makes sense to me.
I'm looking forward to seeing what who these possible AGMs are going to be, who else could be brought in to the organization,
Yeah.
because Hughes seems to be somebody that's teams have wanted to add him to a hockey ops position for quite some time. Gordon said that he tried to when he was with the Rangers, and it just wasn't the time, so it never developed into anything. He's had some very good relationships with a lot of players, a lot of ex-players. He was Vinny Lecavier's coach for a long time, or agent for a long time.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of rumors that Vinny Lecavier might join the team in some capacity.
Yeah, and he said that he spoke to Lecavalier about the taking the job, and according to Lecavalier's brother, Vinny told him take the job, because not going to play in Montreal was one of his regrets. Honestly, I'm kind of happy he didn't, because the trade would have gutted the Canadiens.
Yeah, of course.
But no, and it makes perfect sense. And just on a side note as well, before the trade deadline comes up, Gorton made it very clear no one has requested a trade out of Montreal. So let's put an end to all those rumors now. No one wants out right now.
But don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if you see a few names moved on. Some that we already think are going to move, but there might be some surprises.
Yeah.
And if not, there could be some surprises at the draft.
Honestly, I think they'll be very busy at the draft. The trade deadline, I think, is going to go pretty standard. Any UFA is going to be gone, like Kulak, Sherratt. We might see a surprise. I doubt it. But I think the draft is where all the big, like leading up to the draft, is where we're going to see the big, heavy trades.
Yeah.
And then we'll see what he does. I mean, really.
Yeah, it's a little bittersweet that Sherratt's going to move on, because I think that he's taken a step this year, not even on the offense, not even in his personal game. It's kind of the leadership aspect of it, and he's kind of taken the defensive core and he's kind of made it his own. And he'll be a guy that'll be missed on the blue line if he doesn't come back.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll be honest. It's time to move on, because he's redundant in the system.
It's true. They do have players that can replace them, or they can bring someone in that can replace them. However, you look at the players this season on the defensive side, and other than Romanov, he's really been the one the consistent players on the blue line this season. Yeah. That despite loss after loss after loss after loss, they're still giving it their all, and you can
count on them.
Yeah, you can count on them. I wouldn't have been disappointed if Sherratt would have been the all-star selection for the Canadiens. No,
I still think, Wideman got screwed over because of the headbutt, but whatever.
I think, what, Suzuki definitely deserves it.
He does. Yeah.
But if it would have been Sherratt, I know a lot of people would have made fun of it, but you know what? Given the state of the team, fuck it. Like let the guy go.
Yeah, exactly. What was I going to say about, I had something in my head. I kind of phased out there. we went out and we rambled on, and I forgot it. No, geez, it was just there. You ruined it for me.
Sorry about that.
Damn it.
Kodak Black.
What's? Nope, he's not there. Yes. So another aspect with Hughes's hiring is the connection that he has at Northeastern.
Yes.
He has both two of his sons play for Northeastern, and they're teammates of Jordan Harris. So
and Jaden
Struber. But right now Harris is the big ticket.
He's the guy.
Yeah. With moving guys out like Sherratt, that opens up a roster spot. He can probably convince him to sign. Now the percentages of Harris signing go up a little bit in my view.
They do. With Hughes coming in, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. And his Kent Hughes's son, younger son, Jack Hughes, no relation to the Hughes in New Jersey. He is a 2022 draft eligible player, and he's a first round player. They're expecting him to go in the first round.
He's not a top 10 guy though.
No. He's like
No.
20
So-
to 30.
Yeah, so people can be like, he's not going to draft his son in the first with the top 10 pick.
No. But if he and Gorton do make a couple of trades, they might be able to pick up a couple of first round picks.
Yeah.
Meaning they have the opportunity to pick him up. And Jack Hughes is a center who plays a good two-way game, but he's a good skater. He's got good speed. So that's something that the Canadians are missing in the system right now.
Yeah.
So, that's an opportunity that could be taken. But more importantly, Harris.
They need to that's their guy.
Because he's a defender that plays in the new style of NHL defenseman. Very mobile, thinks the game offensively, has a good positioning on the defensive zone, and tight gaps. So he's not going to overpower you with hits like Romanov does, but he plays that more mobile gap control, gets the puck up ice, and he's got a good shot and a great pass. So he can quarterback a power play, and that's something the Canadians are really missing right now.
Yeah, but with player development being so important, I don't see Hughes as being one of the people that are going to rush any of these players if they're not ready.
No.
So the thing is, obviously, if Harris signs, if Harris signs, that would be perfect, obviously, for the organization. But if they deem that he's not ready, then he'll play probably top minutes in Laval.
Yeah, if they like this year, the season is pretty much a wash anyway. So you can use the NHL roster position to entice them.
Yeah.
But come next season, you got to earn your spot again. So totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But you want him to sign.
And that'll be the same thing for Willy.
Yeah, I don't see
next
them.
season.
See, it's tough. Willy just turned 20. Yeah, just let him play in the AHL for a year.
Yeah, I think it would be good. And then obviously this is going to be weeks away.
Yeah.
When they've got to make a decision on Logan Maya. That'll be the big thing in the news when it does happen.
I think when they do make their decision, it's probably going to be in the summertime at around the same time as a lot of other big things are happening, so they can slide in the fact that they sign him to his contract, because they're not going to renounce the pick. They're not going to let him walk away.
No.
I don't know if he fits the character that Kent Hughes wants to instill with the organization.
Yeah.
So use him in a trade, sure.
That could happen, or surround him with character players and try to build them out.
If they feel that this young guy is truly repentant and he's doing the things he's supposed to do, and does the right thing, says the right things, maybe, but I cannot see them just letting him walk.
No, I don't think it's going to happen either.
So, because you get a second round compensation pick if he's unsigned and you let him walk, but it would be at the end of the second round. So you're losing your 31st pick, and it's turning into a 61st or 62nd pick. I don't know. You might get more value if you use them to trade. Yeah. So that's pretty much it for this episode. Do you have anything else?
I'll throw this in here because he's a New Brunswick native. Willy O'Ree, his jersey has been retired now by the Boston Bruins. Good, first Black player to ever play in the NHL. He's done a hell of a lot of great things for the game, and now his number 22 is hanging in the rafters in Boston. So good on him.
Yeah. He's done a ton of outreach over the decades that he's been involved in hockey. He's broken down all kinds of barriers. I think this is a well-deserved honor. Now, Treg's not here, but he did make a poll, and he asked, should his number be retired league-wide?
I don't know. I'm even skeptical of Gretzky's being league-wide.
Yeah, so I'm with you. I as great as Willy O'Ree's accomplishments have been, and as important as they have been, league-wide, I'd say no. But I think every team should have a banner up in honor of him. Just, like how they do in Major League Baseball. They have the Jackie Robinson Day.
Yeah.
Everyone wears 42. They have 42 on the walls.
Mhm.
And you go to any stadium throughout the year, and they have a section dedicated to Jackie Robinson. I think something along those lines would be perfectly
it could be in the works.
acceptable.
For right now, they're it's more of less a celebration for Black History Month. All the players are going to wear a decal on their helmets.
Yeah.
That's going to honor Willy O'Ree, and they already started wearing them actually. So they were wearing them the other night, and that goes until the end of February.
Yeah. And again, well-deserved honor for Willy O'Ree in the Boston Bruins. As much as we dislike Boston, it was a class act.
Yeah, it was.
Unlike Marchand, who, by the way, committed murder today.
When he got taken out by a Prius.
Oh, but he committed murder on
on
Twitter today.
He did. The escrow comment was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Telling the Canes Twitter account, you're the reason we pay 20% escrow.
Yeah.
And scene.
Yeah. Mic drop. Now, if Carolina would have came back with, why are you so pissing? Again, would have died.
Right?
I want to see that used more often.
Apparently there's t-shirts that say pissy on it.
There are. And
Yeah.
They've already made somebody else made a Oilers concept jersey with it on it too.
I think it would have been better had Draisaitl just looked Spectre in the eye and said, "That's kind of what I'm trying to say, Burnsy. What's Brooksy?
I know what you're
Trying to, yeah, it's kind of what I'm trying to get at, Brooksy. Do a John Tortorella.
Yeah.
Bonus marks on that.
It's going to be something we're going to see for a while. There's going to be a lot of people that'll make fun of it.
I know that a lot of people were angry at Draisaitl for his response, but let's be honest. You're a professional journalist. You don't tell a player he's being pissy.
Yeah, but he was testy with him before he said that.
Oh God, yeah, no, he was terrible with him. He was terrible with him.
Yeah.
But you're supposed to be the journalist, the professional.
That's right.
So both sides kind of.
I think both sides are going to get
overstep.
talked. I think both sides will get talked to.
I'm sure. Honestly, this kind of thing, had it not been over Zoom, had it just been in the room, this wouldn't even be a thing because it wouldn't be recorded by everybody.
That's right.
And they would just kind of say their thing, and then afterwards they're like,
You know what? It
We'll
made a good sound bite for me, so it made me laugh. That's all that matters.
Yeah. All right. That's all I got. You have anything else?
Hoping for just as good an effort tomorrow night against Vegas that we saw against Dallas. I don't want to see steps taken back. Vegas is a very tough team, and Saturday they're going to be playing the Avalanche, also a very good team. They can't start. They've got to play for jobs at this point because everyone's getting developed, or everyone's getting looked at by this new GM and by this this upcoming new staff. And at the same time, I've been critical of Ducharme all year. This is the time that he either makes it or breaks it as an NHL head coach. If he doesn't either change his systems or find ways that it's going to make it work with the players that he has, he's going to be sent packing at the end of the season.
I agree. For me, I don't really have anything to pass on. I just want to thank everyone for listening. I want to remind all our listeners that our Puck Off Lagerdale beer giveaway is continuing. If you're 19 and over and you live in Nova Scotia, or you can get to an NSLC in Nova Scotia, you are eligible to win a 12 box of Puck Off Lagerdale cans. So all you need to do, tag any one of our social media any one of our social media accounts, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, anywhere that you can find us. Go on there, tag us, and tell us why you like listening to the show, and you could win 12 cans of Puck Off Lagerdale. For everyone else, we're going to try and find a way to get you guys some free beer if we can, for those outside of Nova Scotia. If we can't, sorry. But you can always check out our website, habsunfiltered.net. There's links to all our sponsors. We've got promo codes to get you discounts on whatever you buy through them. Go there, check it out, buy as much as you want.
Yeah.
Hopefully it helps you out.
You might not be able to get beer, but you can get hockey equipment and a new stick and your balls shaved all in one stop.
A couple of t-shirts, some protein bars. The one-stop shop.
One-stop shop.
It's the Walmart of hockey podcasts.
Absolutely.
All right. So I want to thank everyone for listening. You guys make this fun. We had a great time chatting with everybody online today during the Kent Hughes presser. There was a lot of pretty good back and forth on there. So please keep that up. We really love it. And remember, if you were talking about it, so are we.